Now, I'm delighted to say, John, there's a man who, here we go, refereed for a whopping 17 years in the Football League, an incredible 11 years in the Premier League, and has moved down under to become head of referees at Football Australia last year. And he had the unfortunate job of trying to keep Gabby in check between 2005 and 2018. It's a very, very good morning, or is it a good afternoon or good evening, to former Premier League referee John Moss. John, how are you?
Good morning, John.
Morning, guys. It's actually afternoon for us. It's been a lovely sunny day in Sydney. Just had a little swim, bit of golf. It's a tough life down here, you know what I mean? So,
well, that's what I was going to say to you, John. I mean, am I right in saying, I hope I've got this right now, were you not in Scotland for a period there, and obviously didn't appeal to much? Did it not get the same weather up there as Sydney? What was the problem with Scotland, mate?
There was no problem with Scotland. It was a fantastic place. But then someone said, would you like to come and work in Australia, in Sydney? And there was a choice between a sort of October day in Glasgow or a sunny afternoon in Sydney. It took me about 2 minutes to decide, but yeah.
We've certainly got, I think we've got equal, if not better, golf courses, but we've not got the weather, mate. So tell me how it all came about. Has that been a big decision for you?
Yeah, I was working at PGMOL with the Premier League referees, then moved to Scotland and enjoying my time there. The great set of referees. We'd just done the first All Firm game, that had gone well. And then an offer came in to come to Australia to, take over their program, to be in charge of of all the referees in Australia. I was going to be based in Sydney. I just thought it was a good move at this time in life. I'd always wanted to go to Australia, never been there before. Just so packed my golf clubs in my bag and made my way over to Australia, and I've enjoyed every minute so far.
Well, there's a question for you, John. I take it you're obviously based in Australia, and we're all aware of the magnitude and the size of that country. So I'm guessing you're doing a bit of travelling within the league itself.
Yeah, it's really strange. So we've got teams from New Zealand.
Yeah.
Australia. So we've got Perth, a team from Perth, which is 5 hours from Sydney. And then you've got New Zealand, which is another 2 hours, 3 hours travel. So if Perth play Auckland, who won the league, it's a sort of 8 hour time difference.
It's amazing, isn't it? What about, John, is there any differences? Have you noticed any differences? Or is it very much, is it a job that needs done globally and it's the same job? Or do you find it different in for example, Scotland, England, or indeed Australia?
Yeah, I mean, football's football, isn't it? It's 11v11, same passions wherever you go. Obviously, with refereeing, it's slightly different. In the Premier League, we have a certain way of refereeing. We let a lot more go. We don't try not to blow our whistle, believe it or not, too much. Australia's part of AFC, so it's very much that technical refereeing, blowing your whistle. Every bit of contact is a foul. It was about getting my head around that, then trying to change things. Obviously, we've got VAR here. They do in-stadium announcements, so they engage the fans. They've been doing that all season. So when you go to the monitor, you then come out and explain your decision. That's been different. And the A-League is great because it just tries anything. If someone says you want to have a go at making football more exciting, they'll have a go at that.
John, I want to ask you a question about the standard of refereeing in the Premier League, because last night watching the game, Crystal Palace versus Nottingham Forest, there was an incident where Mitchell was taken out by Sells for the penalty, and it was the most blatant penalty you'll ever see, but the referee didn't give it, and then he waited for VAR to contact him in his ear, and he goes over to the screen and then gives it. Are referees now taking their time and not making big decisions because they've got the backup of VAR?
I think there's definitely been a sort of change in the way people have refereed since VAR's come. There's that backup now. Yeah. In England, when we used to do FA Cup games, when we had VAR and there wasn't there, you felt different refereeing. What we said to the guys in Australia was just go and referee. And if there's a decision to make, then make it. And if we make a mistake, then VAR's there to back it up. But what we don't want is them relying on VAR. But I think all around the world, there's been a little bit of a shift to that. Maybe it's subconscious, I don't know, but there's definitely been a move to not wanting to make that decision unless you're 100% sure.
What do you think, John, in terms of the laws of the game? The one thing that Gabby and I were talking about, there is absolutely no doubt, and I don't like the term, I mean, absolutely no doubt the officials know the laws of the game. Of course there is. And then some people say, but they don't know the game itself. I don't really accept that at all, because I think they're applying the laws. But sometimes people like Gabby, particularly ex-players, people like Gabby and myself, find that the referees applying the laws, yes, by the law, letter of the law, they're correct, but the actual decision's wrong. How do we work on that?
Yeah, I think what we try to do, and I think what the Premier League officials have started to do, is to employ coaches and football experts to give them a bit more football knowledge. I think what's always been thrown at referees is that you don't know the game. Well, we do.
Yeah.
But sometimes we don't necessarily agree with the laws of the game, but they're there for us to administer. I think the more we know about football, and one of the things that when I stopped refereeing and was on the other side and talking to coaches and managers, it was all that stuff that I wish I'd known when I was a referee. Like, things like when you walk the wall out, how annoying it is if you don't get the wall far enough back, what annoys players.
Yeah.
And when you're refereeing, you're just in that little bubble. It's only when you go to the other side and you go to the training grounds and you see how hard they're working and how important things are that as a referee you think are sort of not important, like where they set corners and things like that. So I think there's loads of work, not just in England, but everywhere to get referees to know the laws of the game, yes, but also understand football and how important it is, and the small things that we don't realise that you've worked on all week in training can be really annoying if we don't get it right as referees.
John, I wanted to ask you what your thoughts are on ex-players maybe coming into VAR and helping, because, listen, ex-players don't know it all, but there's been so many incidents over the last couple of years where ex-players have said the same thing. They're watching games and they can tell that that's not a penalty, because we've been in that situation on the pitch where we can tell that players look for contact there, that players dive there, because we've seen it ourselves when we've been on the pitch. I know it'd be difficult with ex-players that have played for one club and this other club, but would that be maybe an idea in the future?
Yeah, I think you've got to be open to all suggestions. I know in England they're trialling ex-players as referees, but by the time they finish playing, they're probably about 35, 36. Yeah. They've then had a break and then they go back. It's probably they're not the right age that you want to go into refereeing. So maybe those people that have just been released from clubs at 18, 19 that can still make a good living, are still fit, know the game, would be really important. We actually, when we were training as VARs, when VAR first came in, we actually got some ex-players and managers to come in. And I won't tell you who it was, but there was a manager who looked at a penalty for 13 minutes before being able to make a decision. I'm not sure it would work with everybody, but
yes.
Yeah, 13 minutes.
John, that's brilliant. I've got 4 or 5 names in my head immediately, but I'm refusing to name them myself. John, I want to say to you, I don't think there's ever been more scrutiny and pressure, if you like, on referees and officials. I don't necessarily think it's a good thing, but I just think it's the way of the world now, where there's that many cameras at games, and we're not discussing goals or goalmouth incidents, we're discussing tackles and throw-ins and handballs, and that's the way it is. I don't see it changing anyway. But my question would be to you, longer term, VAR, is it a good thing for referees, or does it put them under more pressure? And as Gabby said earlier, does it give them an opportunity to not so much pass the buck, but not referee the game as naturally as they would?
Yeah, I think, look, the worst feeling as a referee was before VAR, when you went home and you had made a match-changing decision that couldn't be overturned, and it was usually the camera behind the goal that you had no chance of seeing. If you think about Thierry Henry's handball, for instance, the only place you could see that was from behind the goal. Yeah. So that kind of thing, when it first came in, it was great for referees because they thought, great, we're not going to have that feeling anymore. But what we didn't realise was that when you're in a VAR studio, maybe a couple 100 miles away, and you've got some of the really good referees in the Premier League, you lose that feel of what is needed at that time inside the stadium. You can't help it. You just lose it. You don't read things right. Whereas in the stadium, you get a sense when you've made an error, the players tell you straight away. It's a different kind of appeal. So I think it needs to change in terms of making the fans more engaged. So first game here, we have a Iranian referee who doesn't speak great English, right? But he does the in-stadium announcements. And there was a game at Central Coast. Guy gets caught in the head. He gives a yellow. VAR look at it. Send him to the screen. And he didn't say much. All he said was, "Look, I give a yellow, and now it's a red." And the crowd went absolutely mental. And just they were part of that decision making.
Yes.
it wasn't like I said to the refs, just instead of being all technical when you go to the screen, just say what the football fans would understand.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a foul. It's in the penalty area. Therefore, I'm giving it a penalty. And I said, if you want, you can go a little bit Hollywood. You can go a little bit, there it is. Because it gets the crowd involved.
Absolutely.
I think last night what frustrated me... Sorry, John. Yeah. Last night what frustrated me was when Mitchell was taken out, straight away the Crystal Palace players ran over to the referee and he just said to them, pointed at his ear, sort of said like, okay, VAR, we're going to check. Like, we'll know soon. Yeah. It was a bit like, okay, if it was a penalty, it'll be given, lads. No need to shout at me, calm down. But just make that decision because it was so blatant that Mitchell was never going to go down there.
Incredible. John, listen, mate, I'm going to let you go, but
Thank you, John.
I've got to leave you with this thought, John. The irony of a man from Sunderland moaning about the weather in Scotland isn't lost on me, mate. It is not lost on me. You enjoy Sydney, mate, and I'm glad everything's going well for you over there.
Enjoy, mate.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day. See you later.
All the best now. John Mossy, former Premier League referee, turned head of referee.
He's looking man
alive.
It's been nice, Ali.
What did he say? Just a game of golf he's been there?
A bit of golf, bit of a swim.
Bit of a swim.
Must be nice.
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.